Hello boaters, welcome to Narrowboat Journeys. This is Wardle Lock on the Middlewich branch of the Shropshire Union Canal. This is in Middlewich itself, and just on the other side of this lock is where the canal joins onto the Trent and Mersey Canal. Now, it doesn't matter how experienced you are or how long you've been boating, things can and sometimes do go wrong, and this could have been a nasty accident here, but luckily we were okay. This is about 8 o'clock in the morning, and apologies for the poor video. The sun was pointing straight into the camera, which is a problem, but it does improve. Now, I approached this lock, which is 9 foot 9 inches deep, and it was empty, and I noticed that the lower gate was open. So I have to walk down now and close the gate. Now, the only video I've got is from the bow camera of this. I was a bit preoccupied when the incident occurred, but I will talk you through the rest of it. Anyway, there I am now. You can just about see me closing the gate. The other chap you can see in the video was a hire boater, and he was just having a look around and having a chat to me. None of what happens has anything to do with him. It's not his fault in any way. Okay, that's the lock gate closed, and you can just see me through the glare. I'm walking up onto the right of the picture there, and now I would open up the right hand paddle to fill the lock. Now, one thing I did notice about the paddles on this lock, they're a rack and pinion gear, which is normal enough, but the rack, the straight part that winds up, is very short, and just a few turns and it's fully up. So now I cross the gate and wind the other side up. All quite normal so far. Okay, now the lock is filled. I'm over on the right side of the screen again. I'm lowering the offside paddle. This is what I always do. So lower that side down, cross the gate, then I open the gate, and then I lower the paddles on the other side. I always do it that way because if you lower both paddles and then try and open the gate, then sometimes the lock will have leaked and the levels will be different and you can't open the gate. So it's always worth closing the other paddles after you've got the gate open. And this is where the mistake occurred. I've got the gate open now, and the hire boater chap has come up to have a chat with me, and he talks for several minutes. I've edited it out. I wasn't in any rush, you know, I was quite happy to chat to him. And then after a little while, well, we finished that, and I walked back to the boat to take it into the lock, but I've forgotten to close the paddles on the on this side, the paddle gear. I think I'd have spotted it if the paddle gear was longer, the rack was longer and sticking up in the air more. I think I'd have seen it then. But I'm going to pause the video here just so that you can see what the state of play is as I go into the lock. Now, the paddle on the right, if you look, that's fully down. Okay, that one's fully down. But the one on the left is actually fully up, and if you see the rack there, there's barely an inch or two of difference. Very strange. That's why I missed it. It was so hard to see. And of course I was distracted. I'm afraid that if you were watching this on a small screen like a phone or something like that, you may not have been able to see that very clearly, but it is visible on a larger monitor. Anyway, I think the paddles are all down, you see. I'm just boating into the lock as normal. However, I think I might have had a bit of a premonition here really, a subconscious one at least, because as I opened the paddles, normally I would open both paddles on a lock, but because this lock was a bit deeper than normal, for some reason I just opened one side, which was a damn good thing I did that. The lock, it started to drain as normal, and then when it was about half empty, the boat started to float backwards towards the top gate quite powerfully. I was pulling quite hard on the rope and I couldn't stop it, and eventually the boat went right up against the top gate, and it was touching the top gate and virtually on top of the sill. So at this point I decide the best thing to do is to lower the paddles to stabilise the situation. I didn't know what was going on at this point. As far as I was concerned, the paddles were all down, and I couldn't work out why the boat was drifting back like that. It's never done that before. Anyway, after I'd closed the lower paddle, the lock actually started to fill up with water again, which sort of gave the problem away, and I was able to pull the boat forward then. This is where we realised what the problem was. So we spotted and went and closed down the top paddle. I felt a bit stupid, but then again it was very hard to see. If I'd raised both paddles on the lower gates, then the lock would have emptied much faster, and there's a very good chance I would have got stuck on the sill. Anyway, the rest of the lock process continued normally, and fortunately I went on my way with no harm done. But since I mentioned this on social media, a couple of others have actually said they've had problems with this sort of thing at this lock as well, so I think it's a problem that should be tackled. Having said that there was no harm done, all that strenuous pulling on the rope to try and keep the boat away from the top gate, I managed to pull the muscles in my lower back, so I spent sort of about 3 or 4 days afterwards in a lot of pain. So, be very careful, boaters. Thanks for watching.